I get it, you're staring at a big, empty space in your shop and wondering if a gantry crane is the right way to stop those 4-ton steel plates from turning every lift into a circus act. You've probably Googled gantry crane cheap and watched a handful of YouTube demos that look way easier than they actually are. Before you drop a few $100 on a piece of equipment you can't return, let's walk through what makes the Vestil Sullivan-style fixed gantry worth a second look and where it might leave you wishing you'd chosen something else. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, a fixed gantry crane isn't a plug-and-play gizmo. It's a permanent structure you bolt to the floor, and that decision alone is where most people hit a wall. You have to ask yourself, do I have a dedicated spot where a 15-foot span can sit without getting in the way of other machines? Do I need to lift 3,000 plus pounds on a regular basis? Or am I only moving a couple of 500-pound pallets once a month? Those questions shape whether the upfront cost and the floor mounting effort actually pay off. The Vestil FHS 415 is a 15-foot, 4,000 pounds capacity gantry that comes as a single welded steel frame, painted in a factory-applied blue powder coat. The steel is fully welded, not bolted together in sections, which means there aren't any weak points that can loosen over time. What that translates to on the shop floor is a crane that feels solid the moment you roll the hook into place, no wobble, no creaky moments when you're already nervous about a heavy lift. The 4 swivel nylon casters each have a 4-way lock, so you can roll the whole thing into position for an occasional job and then lock it down for a permanent setup without worrying about the frame drifting. Imagine you run a small metal fabrication shop and you need to move a 3,800 pounds engine block from a lift table to a machining station. With a chain hoist attached to the crane's hook, you can position the hook directly over the block, swing the crane a few inches to line up, and then lift. Because the frame is welded, the load is distributed evenly across the steel, and the casters lock firmly. You get a stable platform that won't tip even if the hook is a foot off center. In practice, that stability cuts down the time you spend readjusting the load, and it reduces the risk of the block swinging into nearby equipment. On the flip side, the fixed nature of the frame is a double-edged sword. If you're looking for a crane you can wheel into a different bay every week, this isn't it. The steel frame weighs enough that you'll need at least 2 people to maneuver it onto its casters, and the 4-way locks, while strong, are only as good as the floor they sit on. A slick concrete slab can make the casters slide a bit before the lock engages, so you'll want a non-slip mat or a rough textured floor where the crane lives. Also, the 15-foot span is generous, but you do need clearance on both sides for the cantilevered arms. Cramped workshops might have to sacrifice a workbench or a storage rack just to make room. When you stack the price of the Vestil unit against a comparable mobile gantry that runs on a steel base with larger wheels, you'll notice the Vestil is a bit cheaper, but you also get less flexibility. The value comes from its compliance with OSHA 29 CFR 1910.179, ASME 30.17, and ON-Size 535.4, the same safety standards that big manufacturers use for industrial-grade cranes. That means the load rating is officially certified, not just a marketing claim. For a shop that needs to meet safety audits or insurance requirements, that paperwork alone can save you headaches later. Who should put this crane on their shop floor? If you're a small to medium fabrication shop, a woodworking shop that builds heavy furniture, or a vehicle restoration garage that routinely lifts frames and drivetrains, the FHS 415 hits a sweet spot. It gives you a permanent lift point that can handle the heaviest pieces you'll encounter, and the fixed frame means you won't be constantly realigning bolts or worrying about a joint loosening after months of use. It also makes sense for educational labs where students need a reliable, compliant crane for multiple projects throughout a semester. Who should walk away? If you're a hobbyist who only needs to move a few hundred pounds a few times a year, or if your workspace is a rented garage where you can't bolt a 15-foot steel frame to the